let's talk about how you can have a virtual meeting and close the deal. This is something any agent can do. A couple quick tips and have a little bit of preparation ahead of time. You can knock it out of the park very easily. Now, this has been coming to the surface probably for the last decade, but now with the environment we're in, with the virus, we got to stay quarantined. Huge opportunity for you to have virtual interactions with your prospects and clients and close the deal. You can do everything that you can do in person when it comes to a real estate transaction. Let's talk platforms. There's plenty of platforms out there. Zoom, GoToMeeting, RingCentral's a good one, WebEx from Cisco, EasyTalks. These are the top probably 5 that are easy to use, that have the settings to exchange documents and to sign documents very easily. But let's talk about what you can do once you choose a platform. There's a lot of platforms out there and a lot of them have the same bells and whistles. But how can you really make an impact? First things first, I'm going to share with you 4 tips on presenting yourself well. Why is this so important? Because people will perceive you differently depending on how you present yourself. Just like public speaking, just like a one-on-one meeting, how you present yourself matters. And there's ways to present yourself in a video interaction that could really set you head and shoulders above all your competition. 4 things. Number 1, lighting. Make sure your lighting is shining at your face or at an angle and there's no light behind you. Don't sit in front of a window where there's natural light behind you or a lamp right behind you, because then it's going to make your face turn dark. Sound. Sound is really important when it comes to meetings online, because if they're not hearing you clearly, or if it's delayed or muffled, or it's the echo, it's gonna matter. Here's the thing. You can log into your computer with video and then you can dial in with your cell phone. So the audio is coming from your phone, the video is coming from your computer, but it's all synchronized. You just call in a number and then you can even wear a headset and have the microphone close to you. That'll make a big difference. Right now, I have a microphone up against my chest and it absorbs the echo in the room. Same thing if you have earbuds in, it will really help. Another thing is framing. You want to make sure that that you're framed nicely. If you're using hand gestures, they're within the frame, it's not like this, and that you're framed nicely to where you're not looking down at your computer or looking up. You want the camera about level with your face. That's gonna make it feel like you're sitting across the table from them, and that's gonna be real important. These things are kind of subconscious, but they make a big difference. Number 4, the backdrop. You can have a blank backdrop, a dark color looks nice, or just a blank wall, something that's not distracting so they can focus on you, focus on hand gestures that you may be using. All these things are going to add up to how they perceive you and how they respond to you. So the 4 things, number 1, lighting, number 2, sound, number 3, framing, how you're framed into the camera, and then number 4, backdrop. Remember those 4 things and you will be presented really well on any video meeting. Now let's talk about a personal connection. Again, I have 4 tips for you on making a personal connection. Why is this so important? Here's the thing, and I forgot who has this quote, but people will forget what you said, but they'll remember how you made them feel. Here's the thing, if you have that personal connection with someone, right off the bat, you have trust and rapport, and that's going to carry through your conversation and your presentation. So how can you make a personal connection with someone that you may have never met before? And I did this well before we had this crisis. I bought and sold properties as a real estate agent without even meeting people many times. First thing I'd want to do is send them a video ahead of time. So this can be a reminder. This can let them know that, hey, please make sure you're at your computer with your video on and maybe not a light behind you. I'm going to send them a video and I'm going to introduce myself, remind them of the meeting, and then I'm going to give them a couple pointers for logging on and let them know, hey, I'm going to log on a little early and I'm happy to help you get situated and make sure everything's working. Because you don't want them to be panicked, to be concerned, and then jump on, and there's this anxiety they have going. You want to put that at ease. Best place to start, ahead of time, send them an email video and let them know. Number 2, walk them through the meeting, how it will go if you have an agenda, how the platform works, where they can respond text to a chat form, where they can share a document, where they can pull up their screens. This is going to help put them at ease because some of the people that you're going to be meeting with online, buyers and sellers, they may have never done this before. How you're going to make that personal connection, put them at ease, and make them feel comfortable. And then when you log on, help them adjust their lighting and their sound. If there's a light behind them, ask them to turn it off. Because here's why. It's not just for you looking at them, but they're looking at themselves in the camera. And you don't want them being all concerned about how they look. My eyes look like raccoon eyes, because that's what happens when you don't have lighting in front of you, you have lighting behind you. How I discovered this, I was meeting with people online a lot, and they were staring at the corner of the screen, getting distracted, and I asked them, they said, I look like a monster, I can't get over it. And then I had this epiphany that, hey, I need to help them to make sure that they appear like they want to as well, because they're going to feel comfortable if they do so. These small things can make a huge difference because they're focused on you and your message versus how they're appearing. Last but not least, just make sure they're comfortable. Make sure they're comfortable, and that's what it comes down to. And so they're focused on the message and the same goal. You want to get clarity across to let them know what you're going to talk about on this meeting. Make sure they're comfortable. Make sure they can hear you if they have headphones in, or however, maybe they can call in as well. And then start the meeting, because if you start and they have anxiety and they're not focused, all these things are going on in their head, you have like 20% of their attention, and that's really a disaster. Next thing, let's talk about how you can show you are the expert. Instead of saying, trust me, I have it all, you want to show. This is about really showing versus telling. And when you're on a video conference, it's critical because you can't read all their body language. You can't show them something, on paper, slide it across the table. So you really want to think about how you're going to show them. And I'll share a couple things that will really help you do that. Again, share your screen, so you can simply share your computer screen and have a presentation on there. Now, what I like to do is have the pointer. So the cursor on your computer, on Zoom and on many of these, it'll highlight red. So as you're talking about something, highlight it on the screen. I'm talking about this area here and then this area here. You can do that with your mouse, and you're walking them through the process. Another tool that you can use is Google Street View. And I was just talking to Brian in California, and he's going through the same thing where he has to stay quarantined and he has to have video conferencing. And here's what he had to say about Google Street View.
Google Maps, you can actually put the property address in Google Maps. There's a little icon of a person, there's a little orange little person. You can drop that person down to the neighborhood and you can view the neighborhood. How many times have agents driven to a home and they get out of the car and the buyer looks at the neighborhood, about 10 seconds later says, I don't want to buy this house. Yeah. You can save everybody that time using Google Maps. Be on the phone with them, be FaceTime with them, and talk them through the neighborhood. What are they looking at? What's around that home? What are the schools? What are the restaurants? What are the amenities in that area? Where are the freeway access? Where's the airport? All those things that are very, very important. And you can use technology right now. Google Maps is available on your computer Drop the little person down and save yourself some time that way.
And Brian made a great point there. Zoom down to the street while you're sharing your screen. Show where schools are, show where hospitals are, restaurants, shopping, whatever they may be interested in. That's how you're going to show you're the expert. You can have your cursor on the screen. You can zoom in. You can drop into Street View and look around. You can let them know, hey, you said you wanted to be close to the hospital. You're only 1.5 miles away from the hospital. You said you wanted to be close to shopping. You wanted to be away from the freeway. This is one of the furthest neighborhoods away from the freeway that are still accessible to all these things. So as you know what your client's looking for, you need to point these things out on the map. Or if you're presenting for a listing presentation, let them know all these things that you're going to relay to buyers, because that's going to make them think, wow, I never thought about my house being positioned in such a critical area where it's accessible to all these things. And if you point that out to them in a listing presentation, you're going to be head and shoulders above all the competition. Another thing, pictures, video, 3D tours of the home. These are all critical. They're important. They're easier than ever, from cell phones to online subscriptions where you can pay $20, $30 and get a knockout 3D tour of a home. All these things are accessible, and these are great tools that you can use to show a buyer a property. And you should have examples of these that you can use to show a seller what you're going to do for their home. Now, if you don't have a 3D tour, you can find a vendor and then go to them, get a sample, put that in your listing presentation, and spend $20, $30 when you get the listing, and it'll be well worth it. One that I really like is Home Diary. They do a knockout job, and they really build a story around the home. HomeDiary.com, and they have a great 3D tour service. Another thing you're going to want to do, describe benefits. So you're walking someone through a home, maybe picture by picture if you're showing a listing. Let them know, hey, this living room fits exactly what you wanted. It has the vaulted ceiling, it has the double pane windows, it has the French doors. Walk them through, again, showing, telling. On a Zoom meeting, they're going to see the screen that you're sharing with them, and then they're going to see you in that upper right corner. And so they can still see you, see your screen, hear your voice. It's a great tool for presentations. So as you're walking them through, list their needs that they wanted, and then approach them to the property. This is the bathroom you wanted. This was the living room, and go through their list. This is going to help you get offers in on a home, maybe if you're working with a buyer, sight unseen. Then recap each point for clarity. As you're going through these meetings, don't assume. Don't assume they know. Recap the point. That's going to help bring clarity to them. You don't want them confused, especially when they're on the other side of a computer, because you won't be able to pick that up like you would if you were sitting with them. List out bullet points when you recap. So double path readership is important. Click back to your presentation slide and let them know we talked about the location. We talked about the square footage, all the things we talked about. Maybe it's a listing presentation, and so you really have it laid out. And then build out the bullet points. Don't show a list of 10 things and go through them. No, show a list of 10 things that builds out. Each time you hit the button, one bullet point. We talk about that. Next bullet point. And so they're keeping along with you. Slow down. Another thing is slow down to go faster. You're going to need to be a little slower, especially with a little delay on the connection possibly, and then you're not in front of them. Slow down, keep a nice tempo. So talk just a little slower than you would when you're in person, and keep a nice tempo throughout the presentation. Keep the conversation going so they don't get distracted and start looking at the cat and this and that. You need to keep them focused. Ask if they have any questions at every point. Don't assume. Did you understand that? Do you have any questions for me? People don't want to feel stupid. They don't want to ask stupid questions. But if you say, hey, did you understand that? Did you have any questions? they're going to be much more receptive to say, yeah, you know, Joe, I really didn't understand when you talked about the backyard, you know, this situation. Then I can clarify versus just having them be more and more confused. Again, you can't read their body language, so this is going to be real important to you. And you may have made a point in a presentation, and they may have gotten something completely different. So if you ask, did you understand that? And they tell you, oh yeah, I understand that there's a freeway 2 houses down, and there's really not. I was talking about 2 miles away or something. I'm going to want to clarify that. So to make sure you're on the same point, recap and ask if they understand and if they have any questions. Last but not least, be ready to close the deal. You can close the deal on a virtual meeting. Transition smoothly. Don't make a big old scene like, okay, now we're going to talk about the listing agreement and see how we can get that signed. No. Slowly pull it up on your screen, transition over to reviewing paperwork. Mr. Seller, you said you wanted to list at $439,000. I believe that's a great place to start. And then start reviewing the paperwork. Then have a digital signing platform ready to go. There's a lot of digital signing platforms out there. Have the contract loaded up, have everything loaded up to where you can email it to them right then. They can log in, you can send them a link maybe in the chat box. They can click that, sign in, and they're reviewing the document, you're reviewing the document, and they're able to sign as you go along. This is going to keep it smooth until they don't think, yeah, I'll have to wait till I see the property, or I have to wait till I get into town. I did this before before we had these pandemics, and I would transition smoothly into it, have them sign the document right there, then and there, and say, we're done. We'll be on the market in 5 days, and then go put the home on the market. And there's a lot of digital signing platforms. DocuSign is the one I use the most. There's PandaDoc, HelloSign, Sign Now. Adobe has their own one, Adobe Sign, Document Cloud. There's Right Signature by Syntrex, Sign Request, Sign Easy, OpenSpan Sign, and that's formerly eSign Live, I believe. All of these work about the same. It's just a matter of finding one, getting familiar with it, and then having it ready to go. Here's the thing. Before any virtual meetings, you need to be prepared. Test the platform, make sure it works. When they get on, make sure they're comfortable, walk them through it. These are going to take a little bit more preparation than meeting in person. Make sure everything's set up, make sure your internet connection is set up, sign on 20 minutes early if you're going to do a presentation. Take time to recap, have your signing software set up, and so you can transition into the close. This is how you can make a seamless transaction via virtual meeting. I encourage you to pick the platforms you want to go with, get familiar with them, do some practice runs with some people in your sphere, and then you can also roll this out to where you have experts come in and you can talk with them about certain events. You can do live events, advertising them on your Facebook, to your sphere, first-time home buyers, answer questions live. You can use Facebook as well. There's so many opportunities for live video, and as you get started with them, I believe you'll get really confident as you continue to do a meeting and then record it. Watch how you were interacting with your clients or prospects, and then you'll naturally start to improve as you pick up on these things. And I'm surprised how small things can make huge difference with virtual meetings, because it's lighting, it's background, it's sound, it's these simple things that other people may not think about. So there you have it. I wish you luck on your virtual meetings. If you have any questions, you can always comment on our blogs or ask any questions. We're here to help and support in any way we can.